I hope that we didn't like blow you off on your question about the 60-hour work week.
No, because I think it's true though. What really struck with me was even if you get time off, then you tend to be. I think a lot of people understand you're always thinking about your time off.
Yeah.
So even if you have it, you're still not present.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, I was only half kidding about cushiness of a teacher's job because you know I was a professor, and you know, it's not just the time that you spend in the classroom. You know, there's all kinds of other requirements for like getting ready and preparing, and you know, keeping up with the field in one way or another. There's a lot to it. But I found myself at a certain point in my career. You know, I had a fairly high-powered university career, and fairly early on, I realized that you can spend as much time as you want preparing for any one class. You know, like if you have like an hour-and-a-half class, you can spend literally 4 weeks for that hour and a half. No, I mean, you know. And so, you know, I just realized in a certain way, you got to just make a decision. You just have to say, okay, that's enough. That's good enough. And I think maybe that's transferable into other fields as well. You know, any kind of profession can take up all your time if you let it. But to sort of take control over it and to say, look, I've got other things to do in my life. This isn't my life. So I know a number of people, especially in a place like here in Singapore, you know, a number of people have high-powered jobs. So, and careers, right? Professions and stuff like that. So I have a mantra for you, okay? Sacred mantra. If you're a type A personality driven by your profession, okay? So all mantras begin with Om. So you can say Om. Okay? So this is how you get a mantra. You repeat after me, Om. Okay, that's the Om always means here comes a mantra. Here comes the beginning of a mantra. Then most mantras are in Sanskrit, but people don't know what Sanskrit means, so we'll do it in English, okay? The Om part's the Sanskrit. Say Om.
Om.
It's only a job. It's not your whole life. You know? You've got other things that are important to do in life besides your job. It's only a job, it's only a way to pay the bills, really, okay? You get a certain amount of ego satisfaction out of it, fine, but it's only a job. And, you know, I'll tell you what, someday you won't have that job. I mean, someday you'll get fired, or, you know, best case scenario, you'll get so old that somebody will come to your office one day and say, you know, you're really old. You should retire. And you say, no, I don't want to retire. I say, no, but you have to retire. Because we have young people who are going to take your job, and then you don't have, you know, one way or another, you see. So if you think that you're your job, you know, you're just setting yourself up for disappointment. If you think that you are your job, then you're setting yourself up for suffering. And you're not your job, you're way more than your job. So don't forget that mantra if you're like, especially if you're in your 13th hour of the workday instead of the 12th. It's only a job. Okay? It's only a job.
I have a little question. In the creative area of life, it's really hard to get any work done unless you have it all gel in your mind at one time. So it can take me about 2 to 3 weeks to get one job done, which needs to be done, but you know, for the life of me, I don't have the inspiration or the ability to actually get. So I find myself very often having to do lots of other things other than the thing which needs to be done because the thing can't be done. Like if I'm going to make, if I'm going to develop a system, I know I have an idea of a system, but I don't have the complete picture. So I have to go here, look at this, and then slowly collect information. So what's your view on that?
I think that's right. I think that's part of the creative process. I mean, you know, when my friend who's a painter says when she has a block, you know, to paint, she can't paint anymore, then she cleans the studio, you know. She does something near the painting. She's near it, but she can't do anything on it right then, you know. I mean, yeah, I mean, artist block is not, people have their own methods, but, you know, some people have the inspiration when they're having a shower, so I think that's also interesting, or going for a walk, like, I think it's Nietzsche who said, like, don't trust any idea that you didn't have when you were walking or something, you know, because you're not doing, because sometimes we get busy trying to do the thing that we're trying to do and get too narrow into it, that when you expand your view or you forget about it while going for a walk or having a shower, then inspiration strikes, you know, because so you could also see that as getting unbusy, you know, going for a walk or doing other things around it helps you stop focusing, you know, because being busy is also like narrow, you know, it's churning on some narrow view of getting things done, you know, so part of getting unbusy is also like expanding out, expanding the mind and connecting, you know, back out again, so maybe something like that.
So in your view, being busy, so to speak, would be to have a situation at hand and then banging your head against it over and over again, hoping to make a breakthrough. Whereas what is actually more useful would be to just let it be for a while, go do something else, and come back to it a little bit more fresh.
Yeah, and you know, remembering that busyness and unbusyness are more of an internal view, you know. It's not, like Marut was saying, it's not so much about how much you're doing, but it's the internal, the way that you're approaching it, so, yeah.
I think it was Stephen King who said that, you know, he sits down every day to write, you know, for an hour or two, and in the hopes that the muse will come. But the muse, you know, the inspiration.
Yeah.
But if it's not sitting down at the desk, then there's no hope that the muse will come.
Yeah.
So you provide the conditions for the possibility that the inspiration will come, and if it comes, it comes, and if it doesn't, it doesn't.
Yeah.
And you don't stress out about it, and you don't want to freak out about it. As an artist or a writer or something like that, I think that's one way to think about it. I think the artists that I know, the really good artists, the professional artists, are also disciplined. They're also disciplined. They don't, you know, they don't just hope for the best, you know, when it comes to inspiration. You know, they sit down, they structure their lives in such a way that they're working at it. But that doesn't mean that they're always inspired. But the inspiration comes through the discipline, in the framework of the discipline.
Show up, show up, show up.
Yeah, show up. Writers write. You know, there's a lot of writers who say they're writers and never write anything because they're, you know, just waiting for the inspiration, or they identify as an artist or a writer without actually doing the hard work of being, you know, being an artist.
And you know, it's the same with practice. I mean, it's the same with spiritual practice. Like, you show up every day at the cushion, and you can't say beforehand, oh, this meditation is going to be amazing, and, you know, I mean, you can say that, but that has no reflection on what the meditation is actually going to be. The meditation is going to be what it is. And, but you show up every day on the cushion, and that's the experience that you have. Sometimes you connect to the deity, and sometimes you don't. Sometimes you connect to your true nature, sometimes you don't. But that's the meditation, and that's exactly the same with art. Yeah, creativity, you know. Yeah, so. Did you? Someone have their hand up? No?
I mean, you know, this phrase that samsara is nothing other than having something that needs to be done. It kind of resonates with me. Well, kind of equated the notion of samsara with the rat race. With the rat race.
Yeah.
Rat race.
And would you comment on that?
Yeah, I think that that's part of what he means by kartavya in Sanskrit. It means to be done. So why is it that we think that there are things that we need to do? And part of it is internal, and part of it is competitive. Part of it is comparing ourselves to others and thinking, well, we need to kind of keep up somehow. So we always feel like we need to be doing something not only for, you know, internal kinds of compulsion, but also in terms of the comparison that we make with people that we regard as our peers. So both, I would say. Is that what you mean? Yeah.
I think too it's related, like what I was saying before about the FOMO and FOF, but really that's relating to some deeper survival instinct. I think that's samsara too, when we're driven by our survival instincts, like evolutionary survival instincts of fight, flight and freeze. There's a primal, and that really is the rat race, you know, got to get ahead, someone's always wants to take my position, got to fight for this, got to run away from that, you know. So we're like animals in the jungle still. If that we're like that limbic system is running us, then that really is like samsara too, the rat race of just habitually reacting to perceived pain, perceived danger, and perceived ways that we can get our food and our pleasure and our, you know, that kind of thing. So we really are animals like that. And so that you could understand samsara like that we haven't become aware that we're totally running on that survival instinct. Evolutionary, you know, evolutionary survival instinct. And one of my, you know, inspirational teachers, his name is Joe Loizo, he said it's so funny that we do that because we won. Evolutionarily speaking, we won. We're at the top of the food chain, you know, we don't have any other predators. We won the whole game, survival game. And now what are we doing? We're just killing each other. We're just continually arming and continually competing, and we're still running on that survival instinct, arming ourselves against each other. And it's ridiculous. We won already. There's no one else to compete with, actually. You know, we could live in total peace, but we're still arming. You can see it externally and internally. It's played out in our world where we're just continually arming ourselves and pointing it at each other, and we do that internally. Why are you looking at me like that? Why don't you say that to me again? Got all these guns pointed out at each other. Same as our world has got the guns pointed at each other. We're just continually arming, continually, you know, putting up those barriers, fight, flight and freeze. And it's irrelevant because we got there already. What more do you want? You know, what more do we need? We should be disarming now. We are in a position, especially those of us that have everything, we should be disarming. That's really part of our dharma. Our real true inner dharma is to disarm. There's no one left to fight, you know. You won. Why are you still competing? You won already. You know, you're at the very top of the chain now. And so that's samsara. You thinking that you still got to arm yourself against danger. You're not in danger. You won. Or imagine even trying to think just for a day that you don't have to arm anymore, you know. Try and be samsara free for a day. Disarm, disarm, disarm. And see how it feels to live in love, connection, peace, you know. That's your dharma. It's clear that we won, you know. So really that's samsara too. The rat race is that internal, continual arming against each other. Perceived fears and perceived dangers that aren't really there anymore. So.
But this idea of detached action or action done sort of not driven by the rat race syndrome doesn't mean that you don't do your best. It doesn't mean that. And the Bhagavad Gita, for example, is quite clear on that. You know, do what there is, do what there is that you need to do, and do it the best you can. But without the competitiveness, without the futuristic kind of orientation, without this kind of compulsion and obsession about, you know, what am I going to get out of it? Am I going to stay, you know, in the race? Am I going to get ahead? And all of that kind of baggage. So then it's talking about like doing pure action, action for its own sake, which is actually how we do anything most efficiently. If we're concentrated fully on what it is that we're doing in the present, we do it much more efficiently than having some large part of our brain, you know, kind of casting our minds into the future and what we're going to get out of it and all of that. So it's actually efficient action. Detached action is efficient action. So we'll come back to it. We'll come back to it in a week.
But efficient action can also be an ego-driven action, which is efficient.
Well, that's kind of what I was saying. That
Action.
the more egotistical it is, the less you are focused on the action itself and more on the ego. See what I mean? Yeah.
And that's why I was talking before about the difference between perfectionism and personal growth, or accomplishment and ambition, or competency and competition. There's one is about what I need to do, that is the ego driven, and then the other one is what is there to be done. So if we could put as much energy into doing what there is to be done, like for the universe, for the rhythm of life, you know, so than we do just for our own personal gain. And I think that's one of the keys, is that when you've got to do something for other people, you put less effort into it maybe, than when you're trying to get something for your own ego enjoyment. So that's really another key, is like working out how to put that energy into the we instead of the me in action.
So maybe that's enough. This is
That's
we've gone for
wonderful.
2 hours.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, it's a long time to ask people to sit.
Did you just have one?
Yeah, that's one thing that we talked about rat race, and we were talking about getting ahead of somebody, getting inspired to get something. So all these emotions are considered negative in all aspects of human life. All these emotions are negative in every context of human life.
Well, I wouldn't say competition is always negative. You know, competition brings out the best in people. But competition should be about bringing out the best in people instead of beating somebody. See what I mean? There's a difference. The Dr. Jing says something very much like this. A great sort of, you know, player, athlete, or whatever wants their opponent to be really good too, because otherwise, you know, you don't try as hard. But it's not about winning; it's about doing your best. So competition can help us do our best. But if competition is driven by the ego's need to be better than someone else, then there's a problem. Then the negativity creeps in. All right, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for coming. We'll hope to see many of you tomorrow, 3 o'clock again. Thanks to Oasis Holistic for hosting us here.
Yes.